If you're following along and you are not on a Mac or a Linux kind of machine, then a very good option is to use C9. Now, C9 is something you can access via c9.io. And actually, I'm going to have to, this is the dashboard you'll see once you're logged in. I'm going to go in incognito mode, and you can see this is what you would see if you go to the home page and you don't already have an account. It is a very powerful browser-based development environment. It covers all kinds of different systems, and as great as it is, it also does take a little bit of time to get set up. And so with that in mind, I wanted to give you a couple options. You can completely follow along by just going and signing up for a free account and going through the full set of tutorials and setting it up yourself. That's perfectly fine, but I will tell you that that will take a little bit of work. But if you send me your email address or your username to Cloud9, so you can go sign up for an account and then send me your username, and then I'll add you to the Bottega DevCamp team. I'll send you an invite, and then you can come right here, and the nice benefit to it is you'll be able to take advantage of being able to take one of the images that I've created, and when I mean image, I mean the actual Linux image. So all the settings, the configuration items, I've already gone through and created one specifically for this course, and so you'll be able to use that, and you'll also be able to use it for any other Rails projects that you do. So if that is the case, feel free to send me your email address and or Cloud9 username, and I will send an invite to you. Now, I've already gone through and I've done this for a test user, and this is the email you'll get. So it'll say Team Bottega DevCamp has invited you to join their team on Cloud9, and this is perfectly free for you to use. We have an educational account with C9, and so you can use this. Open up the link, and right here it'll say Welcome to Cloud9 Teams, and click on Create a New Account. Just give your name. This is your full regular name, and then whatever username you want to do. So I'm going to do Jordan Hudgens student. Hit next. What kind of developer you are. On this one, just put student and then coursework, because this is a course. And that's it. So you want to confirm that each one of these items is correct. Hit next, and then it's going to confirm that you're not a robot, which is probably a good thing. So it says select all squares with fireworks. Each one of these is going to be a little bit different. Verify and create account. And it may or may not ask you to go and confirm your email, but let's see. It looks like, nope, we're good to go. Okay, so right here you have, and don't forget to set your password. An email was sent with your password and the ability to reset it, so make sure to go and do that. Now, you could create a workspace completely from scratch here. However, I want you to be able to take advantage of what I have already created for you, because it makes life a lot easier. So click there, but instead of building one of these from a template or from scratch, click on Clone Workspace and type in whatever your workspace name. You can name this anything you want, so I'm just going to say Jordan Student Workspace. This part does not matter at all. It just is the way your ID essentially for the workspace. And now click on Clone Workspace. And so as long as you have and you're associated with Bottega DevCamp, you can click on Select a Workspace, and you'll see right here where it says Testing Project, and you'll also have another one. This is the one you want, where it says DevCamp/Rails-Workspace. This is the one you want. Don't pick any other students. And eventually, when we have a ton of students, you're going to see all kinds of ones here, but you want the one that says DevCamp/Rails-Workspace. Click on that, and then click on Create Workspace. This is going to go through and it's going to generate the workspace for you. Depending on the server load, this could take a few seconds to a few minutes, but what this is doing is it's copying all of the configuration files and the virtual machine that I already have configured for you, so that you can just take it and essentially run with it. So once this is all done, we'll be able to see how to actually navigate this, and I include a few other instructions that you can use as well in the README. So we'll see what that looks like here in a second. And I'm going to pause the video until this part's done, because I don't think you want to listen to me just kind of blather on for a few more minutes while it's working. So I'll see you when it's done. And it's all good to go. So here we have the dashboard, and you can see we have a little welcome screen, and I set up some instructions that you can reference. We're actually going to go through and do these here in a second, but this gives you some basic things that you can reference, and if you ever want to bring this back up, this is just the README file that's located right here. And so the things that you need to do to get Rails going, I've already installed Rails, I've configured Ruby, I have you at the Ruby version of 2.40, and if you click on the bash shell here, this is where you're going to be running all your commands. You can type rvm list, and you'll see that you have 2.40, which is the one I installed. You can, now that you've gone through this, now that you have access to this, you can actually use the same exact commands that I used in the other configuration videos if you ever want to do something such as upgrade and install another version of Ruby. So feel free to reference those, because even though this may not be a Mac, the terminal, this is called the bash shell, this is the same for the most part in Linux and Mac. So, and this is essentially a Linux installation. You're accessing a Linux type of shell right here. So all of those same commands, for the most part, are going to be able to work right here. So that's going to allow you to follow along. And in the rest of the course, I am going to be going with my Mac, just because that's what I use on a day in, day out basis. And most Rails developers do use a Mac for development, so that's what I'll stick with. But if you're coming from a PC, you can follow along 100% from here. You are not going to have anything that I do in the course that you won't be able to do right here, which is a good setup. So the first thing you want to do is we want to actually create or start the Postgres database, and this is a database that is installed, and it will allow you to store items in the database, and this is what we're going to be using throughout the course. So run this, so just copy and paste this, and it's going to start the Postgres server. I also made some updates to the Postgres configuration file, and this you'll be able to take those if you've installed it, and you don't have to make those changes yourself. And now let's create a Rails app. Now I'm jumping a little bit ahead on the course, so this isn't the app that we're going to be using in the course. This is just so I can show you how to run the Rails application. So I'm going to say Rails new my app, and I'm going to not install tests, just cause, and that's what the -t does, and it just is a little bit faster to install. And then dash database equals PostgreSQL. And in case you're wondering, I have all of this right here. So you can also just copy and paste this here, and then you'll be perfectly fine. So that's all I'm doing, is I'm creating the Rails application. It's going to generate it, and that's it. Now all I have to do is type cd, which stands for change directory, and change into my app. And once you have that, now all you have to do is run it, and that is something that is pretty cool. And also you can get rid of this. This is a JavaScript REPL. You can just click the X there, and you can drag this down so you can see all of the instructions here. And now I'm going to copy this. This is how you run the Rails server. This is slightly different than how you'd run the Rails server locally on a Mac or even on a Linux machine, because what you're doing is technically you're going to be running this on the internet. And so this is something that's kind of important to keep in mind. Because you're using a cloud-based IDE, you need to run this on the internet, and so you need to pass in a few more things than if it was working locally, and that's why I included this in your instructions. And now, if I paste this in and hit return, it's going to, oh, it's gonna not work because I forgot to do one step. And I'll update the instructions so that they'll be added there. We need to create our database. So I'm going to say Rails DB create. This will create our database. And I'm going to go through all of these steps when we actually get into the course, so don't worry, I'm not skipping over that part. So now if I paste this in now we can run the Rails server and we won't get an error. So all you do is you come up here where it says preview. Click on Preview Running Application, and here you go. You have Rails installed and you've generated your first Rails application. So great job, and now that you have this set up, you will be able to follow along with the entire course, whether you're on a Mac, PC, or any computer.